Merry Christmas from the Make a Difference gang. Jared Phillips here with Phil Martelli. We are right around the holidays. A lot of fun this time of year. We dove into a little bit of Christmas shopping action. I hope you got all yours done.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
No.
fair enough. Because I still have some to do, but a terrific time around the holidays to spend some time with family and get the chance to see people more. And just show love and appreciation.
No question.
For everybody in your life.
There's no question. I think I want to start with this idea. Been around to 3 college games. I've had a chance to talk to some high school coaches, and we're always talking about the players and the coaches and this busy time of the year and still pursuing basketball and improvement and that type of thing. We need to think about the other people that make the games and the practices possible. The janitors at the schools, housekeeping in college, janitors in high school. They make sure that the heat stays on, even though the school may be empty. How about the cheerleaders, the dance team, the bus drivers, the referees, the clock operators, the ushers at the various locations, strength and conditioning, all of them allowing the players and coaches to pursue their passion, which is basketball, and at the busiest time of the year. To all of them, thank you. Thank you for allowing us as fans, us as coaches, and us as players to play this great game. And thank you is the most powerful statement, and we use it at this busiest time of the year. It's extraordinary what all of them do.
It's perfectly said. I almost got like PTSD to an extent when you get some of those like around the holidays this wintertime, jumping into a gym. And if the heat isn't quite on,
no, it's not quite on.
Oh man, you gotta. You're happy to run sprints. You're like, let's run some suicides because I need to get warmed up a little bit.
Everybody out there has experienced that, and that's why in the high school setting, when people say who's the most important, if you're not in the building, who's the most important person? The secretary to the principal and the janitor. The maintenance man. I guess
yeah.
Maintenance is more.
Oh, I mean, it's
amazing.
I'll tell you what.
Great point though about getting in there and saying,
you don't want to take the, you might wear sweatpants in. You don't even want to take them off. You're like, I might do the first half of practice in these sweatpants.
There you go.
I'll with the Christmas coming around. I'd love to know. Do you have a maybe like an all-time gift? Either you've gotten or you've received. I
actually spent some time on this, and I had to ask others, is there anything memorable? And right before we started our podcast, Judy walked in and she gave me the year 2014. She gave me the actual gift that I had given to her. And it's a simple frame. Now on the frame, it says family, where life begins and love never ends. And the picture in there is of her mother and father who passed away in the calendar year 2014. She looked me in the eye and she said, it's my most cherished gift. And I will be eternally grateful for this gift. And I said, all right, job well done. Job well done. And that frame was bought
in person.
In person.
Yeah.
No online.
Yeah.
2014. Yeah. Did they even have online?
They did have online in 2014.
I had no idea. But
I
also had this because of our connection. And this goes way back. And I'm not a gift person. Like I don't have this recollection. I'm appreciative and certainly have a lot of mementos around. But here's what the best gift ever received. 1966, Christmas Eve. You must well be aware of this. Like you've worked in the media, so you have to be aware of this. 12 inches of snow on Christmas Eve, 1966. I'm in the 7th grade, and I watched your grandfather, my father. We had six kids at that time. Lisa had not been born, the youngest.
Gotcha.
My father had stored his gifts at his aunt's house about 2 miles away. He took a kid's sled, walked to his aunt's house, came back with a pile of gifts, and did it again and did it again. I do not remember what time I got up this morning. I remember that because he did it multiple times. What was the gift that he gave me? Love.
Truly.
In that, and he, simple guy. A lot of people out there met him along the way. A simple guy. But that moment seared in my brain. When you can provide for your family, you must, and there are no obstacles. He walked with a kid's sled, not once, not twice, 3 times. Look it up. Look it up. 12.4 inches. I wrote it down. 12.4 inches of snow on that Christmas Eve. His car couldn't get out.
That's unbelievable. I didn't know that story, by the way. This is news to me.
I know. And I wonder if any of your aunts, my sisters, would have a recollection of it. And I'm sure your Uncle Stephen, he would probably tell you that he was on the sled, and
I bet.
It's somewhere involved.
He would co-opt that story.
He was some way involved. I do have 2 favorites from Christmas. As I thought about this and prepping for the show, they're not unusual. These are my favorite about the Christmas season. I'm crazy about Christmas cards.
Really?
When we received them, forever, Judy would collect them and leave them out, and I would look at them. And I would always look for who signed them, or I would look for the pictures that have come, picture cards that come out. And amazes me. One, that people would be so kind and take so much time to think of you in that way. And then second of all, I'll say, who is this? Who's this a picture of? Who are these children? Who are they the children of? And that's one of my favorites. And my other favorite is Christmas Eve. I don't know what it is about Christmas Eve, but it's not the Italian 7 fishes or 9 loaves or whatever that is. I never participated in that. But from a time that I was high school, college, I just appreciated Christmas Eve as being maybe like you took a breath from the madness, but at the same time there was a lot of activity and a lot of angst. So I've always been excited about Christmas Eve.
I'm right there with you. I have one to share, and this is a good one, courtesy of the parents here. So way back in the day, I won't give any spoilers here in case we have a bit of a younger audience, but the big old jolly fellow, when I was a firm believer, I wrote down my list, and on my list of things that I wanted from Santa Claus was $1 million. I just thought, hey, this guy could bring me anything. I've been good, let me get $1 million and we're set,
We're
right?
set. That's it.
I come down Christmas morning, it was front and center in my present pile, the game of Monopoly. It was $1 million.
That's it. Is that how much is in there?
It's worth it. I didn't clarify that I wanted US dollars. I didn't clarify US, and that cracked me up. The
big man has a sense.
He's got a sense of humor.
He has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
They call him Jolly. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Santa, if you're out there, we'll still look for that $1 million.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on it. It's been about 20 Christmases. I still haven't gotten it, but I'm gonna hold out hope. I'm gonna hold out hope.
Well, time for the Martelli Minute.
Of course.
Brought to us by Status Solutions Network, is committed to making a difference by providing Alicia's Law compliant safety technology to schools through a grant of use, ensuring that financial barriers never stand between students and proper safety. Each community has the power to create real change. Learn more at statussolutions.com. We're deeply appreciative of their support and the Martelli Minute. Your smallest investment into someone else has the potential to change a life. Your smallest investment, a hello. A simple question is, how can I help? How are you doing? The smallest investment, listening, can change a life. Be thankful for whomever lit the flame in your heart. We're all excited. This time of the everybody's excited, but there's a flame, there's a drive. Someone lit that. Seek them out and thank them before the new year. And then the last one, kindness is the gift that keeps on giving. We think, Jarrett, when we're kind to somebody, that, well, that's a solo gesture. But if you step back out of that immediate sphere, you're going to watch them go be kind. So it keeps giving and giving and giving. So when all else fails, be kind.
Incredible as always, and especially around this time of the year to just be able to reflect and just think about the year. I mean, a lot of people put together New Year's resolutions, things like that, and it's nice to just take a moment, especially when you have family around, to think about, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? And speaking of somebody who's doing it right,
So I do want to jump in there though real quick, because building Make a Difference, the platforms and the various, you've been incredible. But I have to shout out Elizabeth,
of course,
Jeffries, mother of 4, teacher in Upper Merion, coach in the Malvern League for kindergarten, coaches that, heads up CVC at St. Mary Magdalene. She'll be running an event in January. And she has been charged with becoming the social media director for P&J Enterprises. Make a Difference is under that. She has me engaged in LinkedIn. Is that how you say it?
LinkedIn. Yeah.
LinkedIn.
You got it.
Our website with Danielle Parker. She does a fabulous job for us. Instagram, Martelli Minute, Phil_Martelli, every morning at 6:30. Left to my own hands, I have to tell you something that happened to me when I was on the road Friday night. Just finished the Dayton-Cincinnati game, stopped at a restaurant, got a salad, went back to the hotel room, and my phone blows up. 5, 6, 7, 8 people from Michigan, a dear friend of mine from New Jersey, a great Hawk fan, all of them reaching out to me. Aaron Bracey, who we'll eventually have on our show, they're all reaching out to me. It's 11:45 at night. I'm like, what could be going on? I ignored the phone. And then finally, a manager, my man Kev from Michigan, calls. And again, he said, what are you doing? When I finally answer, I said, I'm going to bed. It's midnight. I have a 5 o'clock flight tomorrow morning. He said, you're signed up for Twitter Spaces. I had no idea. He said, there are people online, if that's what it is, online listening to you, listening to ESPN talk about the Notre Dame Indiana football game. Twitter, I couldn't, first of all, I could barely spell Twitter Spaces, let alone find it. So left to my own hands. So Elizabeth, you've done a remarkable job as our social media director.
I got to chime in here. I'm sorry. I saw that you had somehow, I don't know if it was a butt dial or what it was, you had accidentally started a Twitter Spaces, which, for the record, we should bring up. I think people would love to have you host a Twitter Space, almost like a live podcast of sorts, where you can just kind of chat with some people on social and everything like that. I got a notification that you started a Twitter Space, and I said, this can't be real, right? And I looked, and very clearly a mistake.
It was a mistake.
And some people tuned in. I mean, people were tuned in to see if what you were saying, and it was the equivalent of I guess a butt dial in a sense, where Maybe we'll work on that.
Yeah,
I know.
we're gonna
Speaking
work
of
on
Aaron Bracey, I know the guys do a Big Five Twitter Space weekly. They do some great work over there with our friends Jake and Kyle with the Big Five Pod, along with Aaron Bracey. So maybe we'll work in Twitter Spaces in a real sense, not in the sense that
Wow.
you just kind of
not knowing what I'm doing.
yeah, exactly.
But we don't have to worry about that with our next guest. He knows
Absolutely not.
exactly what he's doing. A Philadelphia basketball treasure who was cutting edge on a couple different levels, promoting high school teams, players, and games. He got involved in the scheduling of those games, and probably from your world in broadcasting those games. Jeremy Treatman has done so much for so many. And he took the camp concept, the basketball camp concept, the baseball camp concept, and he has now given young people an opportunity, young men and young women, an opportunity to get in on a broadcasting camp. Another great friend. And Jeremy, thank you for all you've done for basketball in Philadelphia.
Oh my God, you made me cry 3 times already today. And you made me laugh a few times too. Thank you so much. This is coming from the guy who, at my first sports broadcasting camp in 2002, my first guest interviewer was you. You came over from St. Joe's, and my campers did a mock interview with you. We simulated after your 04 Final 8 game, which I know was a heartbreaker for you. And for you to have agreed to do that was amazing. And you spoke at my first high school award banquets, and you always help with the play-by-play classics. And it was great also volunteering for Coach vs. Cancer for a lot of those years. So it's a pleasure for me to give back, and I really enjoy being on your show.
Well, we have we start and end in a similar fashion. So, Jeremy, take our Make a Difference followers here through your journey. How did you end up being the leading high school broadcaster?
It's such a funny story. I was 7 years old, 1973, fell in love with Harry Callis, listening to transistor radio, the last place Phillies. All of a sudden, they got decent the next year. By 75, they were in second place. 76, 77, 78, they won the division. I just wanted to be the next Harry Callis. I wanted to be the Phillies announcer. I wanted to be the Sixers announcer. Everybody knows me as a basketball guy, but I fell in love with baseball first in this town. And I always wanted to do that. I never really forgot it. I went through school from a medical family. My mom wanted me to be a doctor. I went out to wash U St. Louis and Penn, and my heart wasn't into it. My best friend's dad was the president of your rival school at Mr. Leocoris over at Temple. And I decided to take some classes at Temple in broadcasting, and I fell in love with being on the radio station. And I just absolutely loved it. The next year, they gave me the Eagles and the Sixers beat. I'm 19 years old, and I'm in the locker rooms interviewing Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. And I said, I'm not going back to St. Louis, Missouri. I'm staying right here. I'm staying right here. This is what I want to do. And I told my mom and my dad, this is what I want to do. And I was dabbling for many years, putting high school basketball and football games on the radio for all those years. And then one day I pitched an idea. I forget what it was, but someone at Comcast stole it. So I learned my lesson, and I knew to keep my mouth shut. So by the time 2000 came along, and now I'm 33 years old, Eddie Griffin's the #1 high school player in the country in the senior class at Roman Catholic. DeJuan Wagner's the #1 player in the country as a junior at Camden High School. And I said, I'm going to put a game with these two guys together. Wow. I'm going to put it at Temple, and I'm going to talk Comcast Sportsnet into doing the game. Now, I'm sure you dealt with Tom Stathakis and all those people at Comcast Sportsnet. They laughed in my face. They said, it's not happening. No one's going to watch a high school game on Comcast. People want to watch the Sixers, then they want to watch the Big Five. I said, I agree with all that, but I'm telling you, we got two #1 players here. I'm telling you, I'm going to fill this arena. And they laughed in my face. They said, and they finally succumbed. They said, well, here's the deal. You want to do it and you want to be the announcer? You're paying for it. So I said, okay. So that's kind of how it started. And the game turned out to be a big success. We got a huge crowd. The only downer was that DeJuan Wagner was hurt. He played with a broken thumb, and he shot 4 for 23. It wasn't his best game. But Roman won, and almost 10,000 people came in person. The game got a 2.2 rating, which I think eclipsed all the Big Five games that year. And then 2 years later, the legend of LeBron James. I brought him to the Palestra, and we also did the game on Comcast, and that's the last time I had to worry about anything. Comcast hired me after that to do high school football and basketball games as an announcer, and they switched me from play-by-play to color. I'm one of the few people who wasn't a player who got to do color all those years. So at first I was very upset about it, but I learned to love and appreciate the fact that people considered me the expert of high school basketball. And that's kind of how it all happened. I started because I wanted to be a play-by-play guy, but then I actually turned into a businessman by accident because I was selling tickets and making money, and it was a great product, and everybody wanted to see all these great players as when they were in high school before they made it to the NBA.
There's a lot in there. There's an awful lot in there.
I'm sorry, Phil. There's one major thing I missed, and it's your favorite player. Jameer Nelson was my first MVP. He played in the first game of that doubleheader when Chester beat Pennsbury. So Jameer was a big part of it too, and that's why that's partly why we have the Jameer Nelson Classic this weekend as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, as a fellow Owl, I know things aren't quite as I would say fun as they used to be in terms of covering those teams and covering those things as you and I experienced, Jeremy. But I mean, what a testament, right, to being in this city for anyone that is coming up in the broadcasting game. So unbelievable to just be in this major metropolitan city and get that privilege, that opportunity to cover these teams, even at the college level, right? I mean, you spoke about it, but what I'd be fascinated to know is just like the lessons learned. I mean, I can't imagine you had quite a few trials and tribulations. You talk about the saga with Comcast and trying to convince them that this can work. I imagine you learned so much through all of that.
I did. I might have been 33 years old, but I was a very young 33 years old. I'm a very late bloomer in everything I did. I didn't start those broadcasting camps till I was 36. So, none of these things totally worked out for me in my 20s, but I had all the ideas in my 20s, and then I made them happen. Yeah, I tell my campers all the time, don't ever let anybody take away your dreams. Don't let anyone say no. Jake the Voice Schwartz, who coach has been a mentor to as well. Everybody tells him he can't do public address. I gave him a shot, and then he's doing PA 15 years later. He's doing it all over the country. And you can't give up because you get rejected once here, once there. Coach waited for his time to be the head coach of St. Joe's and made a huge success for himself. I mean, it's very rare you just get that great opportunity at 22 years old. I mean, you have to work for it, and that's something I learned.
Is there more to the how and the why, the scheduling part of it? I think people will be fascinated about how hard you had to work to make one game happen. You gave us a little bit of really the tip of the iceberg, but dealing with the Roman or dealing with the Camden or dealing with St. Vincent, St. Mary, how did you hear more no's than yes?
Great question. I guess the answer to that is yes and no. I heard a lot of yeses and I heard a lot of no's, and I'm very persuasive. One thing I learned was I had a persuasive personality, so I was able to set up some games that they told me would never happen. Cardinal Doherty will never play Penn Charter. 2004, I got them to play each other at Arcadia. That was the big Kyle Lowry, Sean Singletary game. St. Vincent, St. Mary, and Brookhaven, they've been trying to schedule that game for 3 years. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a total outsider. I'm not from Ohio. I flew out there and I met with both coaches, and I got the game set up, and 17,000 people came. That was 6 days after the Palestra game. So Roman and Camden, at least Dennis said and loved my idea, and he was behind me. He wanted to make it happen. And I had already written some stories about DeJuan Wagner, and I went in with the Camden people. The high school sports show was around at that time, which was my big break. So I was sort of known in the high school world, plus having been an Inquirer sports writer for high schools. So when I pitched the idea at that point, I didn't think anyone was going to steal it from me, especially because what are you stealing? It's a $60,000 business chance, to rent arenas, deal with schools, and pay for television and pay for production trucks. So nobody was going to steal this idea. So they were all in because they all wanted this opportunity to play at a major school and have their game televised. Now everybody's televised.
Yes.
But back then in 2000, nobody was televised. It was a novel idea back then. So I was proud that I was one of the pioneers. And in 03, I tried to get LeBron's games on ESPN, and I actually did. However, Rashid Ghazi's marketing group in Chicago came with the Nikes and the Progressive Insurances and the Geicos, and they had a big staff, and they ended up getting to do a lot more of those games than I did. The St. V story is a great one, Coach. I didn't know those people from Adam, and I've been hearing about LeBron James, and having had been Kobe's assistant coach at Lower Merion, I was curious. I went to see him play, and I called my man, Coach Downer, who just won his 700th high school game this weekend. And I said, I know this is sacrilegious, Coach. I just saw somebody who I think is better than Kobe. And he goes, who? I go, this LeBron James is unbelievable. He just made a move. He went around the basket, back underneath. It was a Dr. J versus Mark Landsberger move that I haven't seen since the Dr. J move. I don't think Kobe could have done it. I think he's more athletic. He's younger. He's stronger. He's faster. And he's getting a lot of hoopla. And a couple months later, of course, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a junior. And they went through 6 coaches and they went through 4 athletic directors because it became so crazy there. It wasn't like Kobe, who didn't really get big till his senior year at Lower Merion High School, where people were believing how good he was. People knew about LeBron. People knew about DeJuan Wagner. I just completely sent a letter or a fax. They told me you have to fax something to Drew Joyce. He's the new incoming coach. And I said, I just wrote him a letter, and I said, and I faxed it. I never met the guy, never talked to him. I said, how'd you like to play at the Palestra in Philadelphia? How'd you like to play at Madison Square Garden? How'd you like to play at the Dean Dome? How'd you like to play at the University of Dayton Arena? And Coach, as you remember, I saw you on that trip when we played there. And
right.
that was that snowstorm in 04. And then there was another game. Oh, yeah, the one at Ohio State back with that Northland team. I'm sorry, Brookhaven team with Drew Lavender. And I got a call back, and Drew Joyce goes, is this Jeremy? I go, yeah. I go, I want to meet you. He goes, can you really get us to play at the Palestra? And I'm like, yeah, of course I can. And he says, I've always wanted to go to the Palestra. And he calls me back the next day. He says, fax something over here, what you're going to do. He goes, this is what we want. It's not about LeBron James. It's about LeBron James' teammates. It's about our coaches. It's about our school. We want an opportunity. We want to take advantage of this opportunity LeBron's given for us. I want my guys to get great trips. We want hotels. We want buses. We want planes. I mean, he wasn't shy about it all. Here's the school's fee. And I said, done. I just went done. I just called her bluff. I go, done. And I hang up the phone. I go, now how am I going to do this? And that's how it happened.
So I have to ask this question, then I have a follow-up on this. You had all this interaction with Drew Joyce, who is today the head coach at Duquesne, right? And also, we might have some followers here who think you're talking about Wani Wagner, who's at Arkansas. We're talking about his dad was the best player in his junior year. Yes, Jeremy?
Yes.
So it's his dad that we're talking about. He ended up going to Memphis and left after a year and was injured, or he would still be playing probably in the NBA. So all of this interaction, LeBron the person, that really, let's call it the way it is. LeBron the kid, 17, 18 years old. Give us your favorite memory of him away from the basketball in all the times that you were close with that program.
One of my favorite LeBron stories is after the game, and I had this idea that Maurice Rice was going to break Wilt Chamberlain's scoring record during this game. He was scheduled to break it in the 3rd game of the year. So I set up the game knowing that St. Joe Prep, knowing that Cardinal Doherty, knowing that Chester was probably the better opponent for St. Vincent St. Mary. But I thought that would make a great story, and I thought a school from Philadelphia deserved the chance to play in Philadelphia against St. Vincent St. Mary. So I gave the opportunity to Strawberry Mansion first. Rice gets hurt just like Wagner got hurt in the beginning of the year before, or 2 years before that. So by the time we played the game, it was really Rice's first game, and he would have needed 63 points to break the record, so that wasn't going to happen. St. Vincent St. Mary absolutely annihilated Strawberry Mansion. At one point, it was 63-25. So here's one of 2 stories. So with about 8 minutes left in the game, or about 4 minutes left in the 4th quarter, Rice has the ball. LeBron has the ball, at the top, right side. Someone else is on him. LeBron waves him off. 3 other guys come over, waves them all off. He points at Maurice. Maurice comes over. We're going to play one-on-one. They played one-on-one for the next 4 minutes. He is the brilliance of LeBron James to know this game was out of hand, to know that his mom, the crazy Gloria James, was starting a fight in the stands, knowing there was a lot of tension out there. There's a lot of jawing between St. V fans and Philadelphia fans. And he calmed down the situation by putting the attention on him. He says, you all came to see me. You all came to see Maurice Rice. Well, that's what you're going to see for the next 4 minutes. Nobody else touched the ball for 4 minutes. They played one-on-one. Rice, who had 0 points at the time and probably would have been in a very bad mental state, ended up scoring 13 points. And he ended up twice making LeBron James fall down. And the crowd went crazy. And I just thought, wow, this kid's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant that he did that. My other great story is afterwards, we found out the Eagles wanted them to come. And I told Drew Joyce, the father, the coach, not Drew Joyce, who's now at Duquesne, the Eagles have invited St. V to come. They've invited LeBron and his teammates to come. Andy Reid invited him to lunch. And the coach is like, you know what, Jeremy? You take him. I go, well, we're going to go on the subway. We were staying at the DoubleTree downtown. He goes, go ahead, take him. So we went on the subway, and LeBron's on the subway car with his 4 famous teammate friends who've made 2 movies with him, and they work with him now, and he always stays close with them, which I really respect that he has that relationship with those guys after he became so famous and rich. And one of the guys goes, oh, no, LeBron says, guys, this is the second time I've ever been on a subway. And I think it was Romeo Travis goes, well, what was the first time? And LeBron goes, that was in my dream. And I was eavesdropping and just cracked up. So
that's right. Drew Joyce, the coach, was his teammate and one of his closest friends. And Jeremy, I'm going to hit you with this.
Yeah.
That game was a Sunday night, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was.
It was a Sunday night. That Sunday afternoon, my St. Joe team played Boston College in a single game at the Palestra. And it was later in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
We were leaving. No, I'm sorry. It was Saturday night. Your game was Sunday night.
You played the day before.
Yes, this was Saturday afternoon. We were leaving. St. Vincent St. Mary was into practicing. And I was always the last one to leave the Palestra because I just wanted to soak it all in. And I was leaving the Palestra, and Drew Joyce came over to me. He's the coach. And he said, we really enjoyed the game. And if you have a minute, LeBron would like to speak to you. Now, I only knew, like, this kid was being, at that point, being argued as the greatest high school player ever. So I said, sure. LeBron came over to me. He was 17 years old. And he said, Coach, really appreciate the game. Love the atmosphere. Love this building. He said, and I really appreciate the way you guys used the dribble to attack the defense. I nearly fell over because I was the coach. I didn't know that we used the dribble to attack the defense. That's how special he was. And every time I've seen him since, and I have seen him in the hallways at pro games, he always makes time. It was really special. I now have to flip, though, Jeremy. You were front and center. You were on the front row. You were in the front of the bus.
Yeah.
When Kobe Bryant comes to America. When did you know? And what was it about him that, using this terminology that we use on this show, what made him different? What was so different about Kobe than a really good player in the Central League, a really good player in Philadelphia, a really good player nationally? You were there. You were there, 9th grade.
I was, and I was so lucky because originally it was just because I was a friend of Joe's, Joe Bryant, his dad, who recently passed away. It's so sad. And I was a friend of the family first, and then I was his first media guy. I did his first newspaper story, first national magazine story, the Inquirer High School Sports Show. We should have renamed the show the Kobe Bryant High School Sports Show. We had him on so much. It was such a fun time. And then, because one of my best friends is a great coach, but he's not like you, Coach. He's not a media guy. He doesn't want to deal with the media the way you do, and a lot of coaches do. Greg Downer called me up and said, Jeremy, you got to come on this Lower Merion staff and just take anything Kobe, it's you. You just take it over for this entire senior year. I don't want these phone calls. I don't want these headaches. This is your expertise. I go, done. I'm on the staff. I'm here. And now all of a sudden I see him from a different perspective. Now I see him as the basketball player. Now I see what is now known as the Mamba mentality before anybody called it the Mamba mentality, before we knew what we were witnessing.
There you go.
So there's a practice. And you know me, I was Kobe's biggest fan. I thought he was the greatest guy ever. And I didn't see like the side of him where he could get salty in a practice or be mean to a teammate or, be a little harsh. And so we had 15 guys and he set it up. Greg set it up like full court 3-on-3 basketball drill. And Rob Schwartz was with Kobe and another guy. And then there was another 3 guys. Now, Rob's our 15th guy. He's 5'4". He's really a JV player who got the 15th spot on the varsity. It's a tie game. And Kobe goes, Rob, give me the ball. Give me the damn ball. It was like Keyshawn Johnson. Give me the ball. He's just screaming for it. And Rob goes like this. He goes, I'm going to use the number 1 high school player in the country as a decoy. No one's going to think I'm going to shoot. He took one hard dribble. He clanks it off the backboard, clanks it off the rim. The other team goes down and scores. Kobe kicks the ball. He throws the ball. He glares at Rob Schwartz for the next 38 minutes, all through the drills, all through the water breaks, follows him to the bathroom, follows him out afterwards into the parking lot. I thought he was going to kill him. And I'm like, Kobe, I didn't know Kobe was an asshole. I thought he was the nicest guy in the world. Like, I never saw this. And I'm driving home. This is before the cell phone. And I come to a light. I'm like, oh, my God, I get it. This is what makes him great. He hates to lose. So I got home. I got to call Greg. I go, Coach Downer, did something historic happen today? He said, Jeremy, you just saw Kobe Bryant lose his first drill in 4 years, and he is pissed. And I was like, wow. Wow. Like,
there we go. How about that right there? That is a classic. Make a difference.
I see why the company is called Scholastic Play-by-Play Classics, because Jeremy, you've given.
I got a better one for you. You want one more?
Oh, please. Yeah.
Okay. So there was another day. Now, this is late in the season. Now the team is starting to figure out. We're in the middle of a 15-game winning streak. We're 24-3 or something. Now it's not just Kobe, Coach Downer, Coach Egan, Mr. Treatman that think we're going to win a state championship. Now some of the guys are starting to catch on. At least we thought they were. Mr. McGovern, the athletic director, comes in and says, so at Lower Merion, there's 2 courts for 3 teams. There's a girls basketball, there's wrestling, there's boys basketball. And he comes in, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry, Greg. He pulls him aside. He goes, I got to kick you out. The girls have the gym. We had a mistake here. I didn't know wrestling was there. I have to let wrestling in. And Greg's like, are you serious? We're going for a championship here. He goes, Greg, there's nothing I can do. My hands are tied. And Greg calls the team together. No practice today. If you want to go in the weight room, you can, but we'll see you tomorrow. 14 hands go up. High five and no practice, no practice, no practice. The 15th guy, Kobe Bryant, takes the ball. Am I allowed to curse?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's Christmas. I don't want to curse. He said, that's effing bullshit. Takes the ball, throws it against the wall. We're going for a state championship here. I'm not leaving. He did practice by himself for 2 hours. And I said, if he's staying, I'm staying. I didn't take my eyes off him. He did every drill while the girls were playing. And 14 guys were already out of the gym. And he practiced for 2 hours by himself. And you want to know why he became one of the greatest players of all time?
I have a hunch. Jeremy.
So we have to jump into the last 2 segments. This could go on forever.
I was going to say, Jeremy,
I need you. Yeah. So all of our Make a Difference podcast followers, viewers, there's a lot going on next week. It does have Jameer Nelson's name on it. It has Pete Nelson's name on it. Jeremy, let's get these people out to all of your venues in the next week for some really good high school basketballs. Tell us what we're going to see.
I appreciate that, Coach. So in 2005, we started. I asked Coach Pickett, who you were so close with as well as I was, next to Coach Downer. He was my favorite coach, Chester's coach, Jameer's coach. And I said, can we do something called the Jameer Nelson Classic? Because all these teams lost I think the slam dunk to the beach in Delaware had just disbanded overnight. I said, I'm going to take all those teams. Let's do it at Widener. Let's call it the Jameer Nelson Classic. Jameer loved the idea. Coach Pickett loved the idea. And we've been doing it ever since. I don't know if we could ever top that first year because Chester played Haddonfield with Brian Zubek. It was packed. They played Episcopal with Ellington and Henderson. It was packed. And until Rondé graduated in 2013, there was never an open seat in that place. Now, it's still been really great all these years, but we'll have Chester playing Abington on the 30th and Cheltenham on the 28th. It's always been an event around Chester High School. But we have a lot of other good teams playing in the event. Episcopal, Marple, Pencrest, Central Dauphin, Chambersburg, Friends Central, ANC. So the event's December 28 and 30. We'll have five or six games each day. Tickets at the door or on playbuyplayclassics.com. Things have changed so much that we can sell tickets online now. You guys were talking about online at the start of the show today. So we're in our third year of selling tickets online. It's my last local event of the year. All my other events are going to be in Ohio, where we have some of the best players in the country. And ever since I did the LeBron games out there, I've been a fixture out in Ohio. So we're excited. We always love the event at Widener. It's a great little gym. It's a great atmosphere and should be a lot of fun. So that's December 28 and 30. If you want to see our other events, they're on playbuyplayclassics.com. Sometimes we do get some of our Philadelphians to come see some of the top players in Ohio. I do have the #1 player in the country this year again. His name is Darren Peterson. He's a prolific prep. He's from Canton, Ohio. That's my very last event, February 18th in Canton, Ohio. I believe they're undefeated and the #1 team in the country still. And Peterson's out of his mind. He may be the first pick in the 2026 draft. He reminds me a lot of Donovan Mitchell, but maybe better.
He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful player, and he's driven to be great.
Yes.
We started recruiting him when I was at Michigan when he was about 14 years old.
Yes.
Every time you him, it was about being driven to be great. So well, you're doing great things, always have. And
thanks, Coach.
I thank you for the friendship. You know, yes, you've done a lot of great things, but most important to me is that we've had another friend on the show, and we have to end it with one more question, Jarrett. Lay it on him.
I got you, Jeremy. Who has made a difference in your life?
Wow. Lots of people. So many people. I can't even. I couldn't even start. But my brother Howard. I don't do anything without my brother Howard. His brilliant mind, his legal mind. Any step I took, starting the play-by-play classics, I don't do anything without calling him and checking with him and checking with contracts. So for family and for business, I would say him. I would say Coach Pickett really made a difference because he made a difference because I went to him with that first idea, doing the Hometown Hoops Classic at Temple, and I told him I wanted him to be in my first game, and the guy always believed in me. And when I came to him about the Jameer Nelson idea, you know, I'm sure there were people in Chester who didn't want an outsider like me to come in and do that event, but Coach Pickett had my back. So I will always be grateful to that man. There's a couple, but there's so many.
It's special guy right here.
Yeah, you really made me think. You really made me think today, guys.
Come on, that's what we try to do on this show.
I know, you really made me think.
I look forward to seeing you soon, and let's connect offline on some other issues, all right?
Yeah, absolutely. This was a pleasure. This was so much fun.
Jeremy, thank you so much. Hey, have a happy holiday. I appreciate that. The stories are just terrific, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You gave me a hint. You let me know. You said this is gonna be good. You said this. I didn't. I had no idea that. I mean, the stories about some of the true greats of the game were mind blowing. I mean, it's really, really cool to
think about them as 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and not Jeremy being a fan, but he's being an advocate, wanting to build them up. It's fascinating what he's done, and we hope that at Widener next week you can get there. Kobe's not playing, Jameer's not playing, or LeBron's not playing, but those young kids playing for their schools, they would welcome your support. So let's have a make a difference presence at his tournaments at Widener.
Oh, it'd be terrific. I mean, the Jameer Nelson Classic coming up in just a few weeks. Please check that out. I mean, it's unbelievable the lineup they have, and that's the thing about it. Like, we're talking now about how 20 years ago he was seeing LeBron, and you go out to one of these events and you're seeing the next LeBron.
Well,
That's like,
we hope.
I know.
Yeah.
There may never be another one, but
Yeah.
you know, we've penned that a few times. But just another great, if you will, like
And it's part of this our next couple of segments about where I've been and where I will be going. And I don't mean about but for our basketball, the Christmas tournament has gone the way of the Buffalo in college basketball, but you could still get your fix by seeing these local and teams coming in from outside the area that you may not see until the state tournament. It's worth a trip down to Chester.
I have to admit, this was news to me, by the way. You telling the story about LeBron. I didn't know that you had the chance to meet LeBron. And I mean, that's incredible. I want to ask, did you know at the time that you're like, this guy is
well, no, I
to be
knew all
great?
the hype, and I knew we recruited a player successfully, Dave Mallon, great player great player on the 03-04 team. And one of the things that he was proudest of was when he went to Las Vegas for a high school tournament. This is a high school player at a high school tournament, and he got his picture taken with LeBron in the Las Vegas airport. And he showed it to me on his visit, and I was like, I guess. There's not a lot of high school kids that would have that much self-awareness to say, look who I got a picture with. This is going to be a big deal in years and years and years to come. So shout out to Dave Mallon there. But it's time. Where have I been?
Where have you been? Busy week for you.
I took a trip to Cincinnati that was fascinating for the Cincinnati-Dayton game Friday night. Got in Thursday. Went to Cincinnati and watched their practice. Friday, was able to see Dayton at their shoot-around, Cincinnati at their shoot-around. And then it was an old-fashioned rivalry game at a neutral site, Heritage Bank Arena on the river in Cincinnati. 15,000 people, 7,500 Dayton fans, 7,500 Cincinnati fans. The colors were distinctive as you looked around the arena. The noise was ever present. And Cincinnati just went out there with a degree of toughness, turned Dayton over, which they hadn't done all year, and rebounded them. And you thought, this thing is over. This is bad TV. It was up against a football game. I don't even Notre Dame in Indiana. I don't know why they were playing on a Friday night, but all of a sudden Dayton just kept coming and coming and coming. And all of a sudden we look up and it's a 4-point game, and they missed a three that would have really made it terrific. But the atmosphere, shout out to everybody involved, athletic directors, sports information. My first broadcast on ESPN, and it was memorable for sure. Got back in time to see Drexel Penn State at the Wells Fargo, or is it Wachovia?
It's the Wells Fargo Center.
It's Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo.
I think it was Wachovia until about 2006.
Okay, just checking.
It's been a while.
Then got up the next day, Penn State in a tight game, wins that one. Take a trip down to Towson and saw Bryant play Towson. So a hoop-filled weekend prior to preparation for what's next. And now we have to go, where will I go?
I hope laying low, some downtime with the holiday, man.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Every guy that has a receding hairline like mine, we can't wait to be able to tell people, I have to get a haircut. So I have a 5-minute stretch today where I will get a haircut. I'll get the car washed. I have to go to the printer and get my game sheet. I have a game sheet that I use for my broadcast. I have to get those printed again. And then today is the day. King of Prussia. Bricks and mortar.
KOP.
I can't wait to negotiate. I didn't order 4 of this item, which is still on the books, believe it or not. Then I have been fortunate enough to have a family gathering in our home. And we start that family gathering with a mass by a great Jesuit. Now, great and Jesuit, if you ask them, that that's just normal. That's the way you say it. Every Jesuit is great, but really, a dear friend, Father Dan Joyce, will come and say mass, and then there'll be a gift exchange and terrific Christmas Eve for sure. Christmas Day will be spent locally, but then the 27th, 28th, I'm going to head up to Harrisburg. Bishop McDevitt High School is having a round robin, not a tournament, and I'm going to see a game Friday night. I have to come home Saturday morning. I have to go to a viewing for a longtime friend who has passed away. And then I'm going to drive back to Harrisburg, and I'm going to do the closing banquet for that tournament.
That should be a lot of fun.
So I am looking forward to it. But if I could, everybody out there, this is family time. This is family time. So we're going to beg you, go make a difference with your loved ones. Spend that time. Forget about the gifts and the wrapping and I got to watch this NBA game. I have to prep. If you're a college or a high school coach, I have to prep for our next game. This is family time. And we're going to ask each of you to go make a difference. We appreciate you. I appreciate all that you've done for this. Appreciate everybody out there who has made a difference. 13 times we've asked them, please go make a difference. We appreciate the gift that they've given by their presence, whether it's presence online, their presence in suggestions, comments. We're going to continue to grow this. So for me, Merry Christmas is a feeling that you want to carry with you, not just words that you say.
I don't want to add anything else. That was beautifully said.
Well, I appreciate it, but
I do have a couple orders of business, but
I have to, after your orders of business,
yeah,
I have the coup de grace, because when they hear after Christmas, wait till they hear about this guest after Christmas. Go ahead. You do your
no,
business.
That was my order of business, was to let us know who's coming up next.
Well, we hope to see you on December 30th, when our guest will be Michelle Obama, her brother.
How you gonna do Craig like that?
I had that. Yeah. I had that on. Craig Robinson is the president of the NABC, Princeton great player, been a Division I head coach. He is now on the front lines of the NABC, promoting the profession, promoting the game, and he is Michelle Obama's brother. So I didn't misspeak.
You're correct. You didn't say anything wrong.
I slow played it, but yeah, I didn't misspeak.
That's fine. That's fair play. I hope Craig isn't going to be upset with it. I'm sure he knows me. Yeah, when you have a sister like Michelle Obama, I'm sure he comes with the territory. But Craig is terrific. Really excited to have him on next week. Next Monday, the 30th. I mean, it's going to be a blast chatting with him, especially around the holidays, because that's the time more than ever I would really love to get his insight into that family dynamic as well. But he's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, Jeremy blew me away, man. Jeremy, a lot of people are going to really have some fun hearing some of Jeremy's stories. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, and if you weren't with us live, then you can get this show during your downtime here. But all of these guests have been, if you just take the guest segment, all of these have been must hear.
Oh yeah,
and this is no question about.
Oh, us two just chatting it up. You throw that away, but the guests, they've been something. Yes. I'll give you that.
Yep.
Jeremy was a perfect gift around this holiday season to hear just some unbelievable stories about some of the greats in basketball. That was a lot of fun. We got Craig coming up next Monday. Craig Robinson, the NABC executive director. Next Monday, December 30th. So definitely be locked in for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, give us a like on YouTube. We are on Spotify, on Apple, every major podcast platform. If you want to go ahead and give us a 5-star rating, we would be forever grateful for that. You can follow us as well on every social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We are at Make a Difference. We are Make a Diff Pod on X. Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. If you want to make a difference with Phil Martelli, the whole purpose of this show, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That's where you can get in touch with Phil, tell him your story, and give him an opportunity to make a difference with you. That is where Phil is getting boots on the ground to make a difference in the classroom, on the hardwood, in your business setting, whatever it may be. He is trying to change mindsets, to help people, to really do whatever he can, just looking to give back, especially now during this holiday season. So we really appreciate everyone for tuning in once again for another unbelievable Make a Difference. Phil, you got anything to send us off?
Just Merry Christmas.
That is right. Merry Christmas.